Hello there. Welcome to another Bernie Miklasz show here on my YouTube channel. Little snow in St. Louis. It's a nice cozy day. I might even get a little lazy today and not do too much after this video. It's one of those days maybe to watch a movie. Kind of put me in the mood for that. Just cozy on up, right? Well, I want to talk about the Cardinals today because I talk about the Cardinals virtually every day, and we're getting into spring training now. And at least there's different things to talk about. But I wanted to take like an overview look at the situation in St. Louis. And, let's start with this part where, the Cardinals, John Mozeliak, Ali Marmol, as we've talked about here on the Bernie Show, they have been, sort of pounding this message about how they can be better than people expect, how they can be a surprise team, and how they can be a fun, entertaining, exciting team, and they're going to run and they're going to be aggressive and go, 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 and all that stuff. Okay, I mean, we'll give them a chance. They're saying it. You got 162 games to prove it. But I wanted to know, aside from what the team is trying to do to promote interest, can the Cardinals exceed expectations in 2025? And it's a tough question only from the standpoint, it's like, well, how do we define the expectations? How do we set the expectations? Well, the first thing we have to do is just kind of look at neutral views of this, take a look at some projection systems, some sports book lines. I don't want to go too far with this because I'd be reading this for an hour, and I'm not going to do that. But let's go with just a few examples of what I'm talking about. Fangraphs and Baseball Prospectus, both of them, respected for their analysis. They both forecast about 78 wins for the Cardinals. USA Today has 75 wins for the Cardinals in 2025. I find this one interesting. The FanDuel Sportsbook set the over-under win total for the Cardinals at 75.5. Among National League teams, only Colorado, 59.5 wins, Miami, 63.5, and Washington, 70.5, have a lower over-under line than St. Louis. And you know what that means. For those who don't, when I say the Cardinals have an over-under line of 75.5, if you would bet $10 on the card, you think that the Cardinals will go above that, they'll win more, they'll get above 75.5, you would have to believe that they're going to win 76 games, and you would bet on the over. If you don't think they're going to get to 75.5, you would have to bet under 75.5. So that's basically what that means. So anyway, for those who didn't understand, I just wanted to be, just be helpful if I could, if that's the word. Another sports wagering site, covers.com, set the over-under number for the Cardinals at 77.5 wins. So we're looking at, but based on what I just told you, the outside view is, somewhere between 75.5 wins to 78 wins. Not real exciting. What about making the playoffs? Fangraphs gives the Cardinals a 20.3% chance of qualifying for the postseason. That's their first playoff odds report. And again, we know that rosters will change. The playoff odds can change. But as we sit here today, Fangraphs gives the Cardinals a 20.3% chance of qualifying for the postseason. That's 10th in the National League. The only teams that have longer odds are Cincinnati at 19.5% to make it, Pittsburgh 18.5%, Washington 1.5%, and Colorado, poor Colorado, less than 1%. If the Cardinals fail to make the playoffs, I wanted to add this. If they fail to make the playoffs, that'll be 3 straight years of missing out. And that would match the 2 longest such streaks that are on the books during the Bill DeWitt Jr. Ownership era, which began in 1996. Cardinals didn't make the playoffs in 97, 98, or 99. And the Cardinals also went 3 years in a row with no postseason baseball in 2016, 2017, 2018. But this streak would be different, because if the Cardinals go 3 straight years of missing the postseason now, it would be, in my opinion, the low point of Bill DeWitt's ownership term. Why do I say that? Because it's simply for the simple reason that it's easier to make the playoffs now. because they revised the format in 2022. 6 teams in each league has a chance to get in the playoffs. 6 teams. So I mean, it's more of a wide open field, and logic tells us that you have a better chance to make the playoffs. So if they go 3 straight years under this new format, this expanded postseason format, that's why I say it would be a low point. I really do, and I really mean that. But there are also fan expectations, and that's where you come in, and that I wonder about that stuff. And it's kind of hard to get a gauge on it because fans are like sports writers or broadcasters, whatever. There's usually a wide range of opinions, right? And I think even what I would call, reasonable-minded Cardinals fans are understandably disappointed. Maybe the word would be disillusioned, a little upset, sure. And then you have the cult of perpetual outrage that rages about everything. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a 365-day rageathon. And it's hard for me to take a lot of it seriously because they're like kind of competing with each other to prove I'm the more outraged Cardinals fan. So at least it provides some entertainment. I don't have to take it seriously, because if you're perpetually outraged, then you really have nothing to contribute to the conversation, because that's your default stage. That's your default mechanism. Outraged every day, every hour. So anyway, I can only speak for myself here about what would be a reasonable expectation. It doesn't have to be, but what I think is kind of like just thinking along with things here. Number one, having a winning season would not be successful, in my opinion, unless it's a really big winning season. But just having a winning season, not a 90-win season, but just finishing over 500, I don't think that would be successful, because the Cardinals did that last year. And that did nothing to energize the fans or improve the morale. And, and actually, if you think about it, the winning part came too late to make any kind of difference. I mean, the Cardinals still had a losing record last season on September 15th. They were a game under 500. And as late as September 20th, they were at 500. Then they won 6 of their final 8 games to finish 83-79. Listen, I prefer to see a winning season as opposed to a losing season, but 83-79 didn't move me or move the needle. I think it's okay to just point out they did have a winning season, but that's as far as it goes. It did not shift any prevalent outside view of the Cardinals or any internal, as in Cardinal fans' view of the Cardinals. Last season, the Cardinals sold 2.869 million tickets to home games. That still was 6th or 7th in baseball, but it was a drop of roughly 450,000 compared to where they were in 2022. And that doesn't even include the no-show count. Making the playoffs would be a success, at least in my mind. I know many of you will disagree with that, but I'm telling you how I feel. Only for this reason, because a return to the postseason would represent some progress after a 2-year low point. What do I mean by 2-year low point? If you add that 71-91 record 2 years ago to the record this past season, put them together, the Cardinals ranked 22nd in winning percentage in 23 and 24 combined. So to make the playoffs would be meaningful to an extent. And the reason why I sort of hesitated there and said to an extent, it should be pretty obvious. This team has missed, coming into this year, this team has missed making the playoffs in 5 of the last 9 seasons, and they've missed the playoffs 2 straight years. And making the playoffs is not the ultimate goal. And making the playoffs doesn't mean all that much if you can't win in the playoffs and make a run in the playoffs, which has been very rare around these parts lately. But my point, if the Cardinals surprise most people, and even in the expanded format, they find a way to get into the playoffs, I'm not going to belittle that. I'm not going to say it's junk, it's trash, it's garbage. I mean, again, I get hot-headed too, and I rip a lot of stuff. I rip the Cardinals on a lot of things. I've ripped John Mozeliak pretty much incessantly. Bill DeWitt has even gotten some wax for his role in the demise of the Cardinals or the decline of the Cardinals to the point they're at now. But if they do, in fact, surprise everyone and they win upper 80s amount of games and they make the playoffs, okay, it's a step forward. It represents some progress. No more, no less. I think it would be really petty to denigrate the idea that somehow making the playoffs means nothing. If it doesn't mean anything, then would you kindly answer me a question, please? If you don't make the playoffs, could you explain to me how you could actually win playoff games and make a run in the playoffs? Maybe get back to winning a pennant or World Series. Not that I would expect that, of course. But I'm just saying it's a step. You have to make the playoffs. That would represent some progress, not nearly enough to where we all want to see this team go. But here's my question to the audience. What would it take in 2025 to entice you to come back to Busch Stadium if you've been staying away? Or what would motivate you to attend more home games if you have not attended that many in 2023, 24? What would it take for you to sort of, in effect, increase your emotional, but also your financial investment in this team by coming to games or signing on for the streaming service, direct-to-consumer streaming service, that kind of thing? And for now, I mean, I'm excluding things like promotional nights, giveaways, how they have ticket promotions where they drop ticket prices for certain games. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about strictly from a baseball standpoint, although a little later in this, I will address something that isn't just about baseball. If the offense kicks in and produced a more exciting, entertaining product, is that enough? If dudes like Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar, Ivan Herrera, we can name more. You know what I'm talking about, that group of players, Burleson. If they get off to a really hot start and they put the Cardinals on the fringe of a postseason race, would that do it simply because the hitters are hitting? That would mean the pitchers are pitching okay or solidly. And it means that you can see, well, if they hit like this, they could be a playoff type of team. That kind of mentality. Would that do it? I don't know. That's for each person to decide. I would enjoy seeing all these guys take off and hit well and show that, they've learned from down seasons. They've been getting, additional help in the offseason. They have a new batting coach. They're more confident. These are good things. These are not negative things. These are good things. I just don't know if it's going to happen. None of us know if it's going to happen, but I would welcome this if it happened. Would the Cardinals have to be in legitimate contention to get you back? And I'm not talking about halfway contention. I'm not talking about towards like late July. They're a couple games out of a wild card spot. I guess that means you're in contention. But did any of us really trust that? I don't know. Maybe not that much. What would be legitimate contention? Well, it would mean you're getting into mid to late September and you got a chance. But by then, let's face it, the tickets are pretty much sold. Yeah, you can walk up and all that, but you know what I'm saying. The larger investment in this team by fans and your money has largely been the hay's already in the barn for the most part. Are you waiting for something else? Are you waiting for them to fire Ali Marmol? You're not going to come back until they fire Marmol. Are you waiting for them just to be done with John Mozeliak? Or would it kind of motivate you to come back before the end of the season if they would actually ease Mozeliak out of there ahead of schedule and put Chaim Bloom in the office of President of Baseball Ops earlier than planned? Would that move the needle in any kind of way? All right, the only non-baseball question, what if the Cardinals, and I understand they're working on some things, don't ask me what, but what if the Cardinals improve the game day or game night environment and increase the fun at the ballpark, freshen it up a little bit, quit doing the same old stuff that we've been seeing for 15, 20 years. Are you waiting for a spending spree next offseason? That's highly unlikely to happen, especially as they're putting more of an emphasis on player development and, getting the minor leagues and the development system up to full speed. And they're making great progress with that already, but it's going to take a little time to pay off is what I'm trying to say. But a spending spree next offseason, come on, you should know better than by now. And I don't run the ball club. I don't set policy, but that's highly unlikely to happen. So I guess, and I don't mean any disrespect by saying this, I guess you're going to have to keep waiting, or you're going to have to care even less than you do now, because this idea that Bill DeWitt's going to sign off on Chaim Bloom rushing out, scooping up free agents, spending a lot of money. I don't see it. I don't see it. Whatever. If you're wanting to sell the team, DeWitt people, you're entitled to that opinion. I vehemently disagree with it. So we can agree to disagree, as they say. The Cardinals have, even now, after some down times, they've won more postseason games than any team in the National League since he became the owner. But if you're adamant that I'm not coming back, I'm not going to come back until he sells the team, well, you're just going to have to wait it out, or you're going to have to keep that on the top of your wish list. And again, I'm not saying that to be snarky. I'm just saying that's the reality. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Would you be motivated to come back in 2026 if Chaim Bloom is running the show and the Cardinals have a new manager in place? Okay, let me raise the level on that. What would you think about Chaim Bloom running the show and with Albert Pujols as the manager? Would that be a draw for you? Would that create some excitement and curiosity and give you more energy than you've had in a while? What about Yadier Molina being a possible manager? Would that do it for you? Some of you may say, well, Skip Schumacher. I think Skip Schumacher's waiting in Texas for Bruce Bochy to retire. Not that he's being a vulture, but my point is the Rangers hired Skip Schumacher to a front office role with the belief that he will be the person that, succeeds Bruce Bochy when Bochy decides he's had enough in his comeback. I guess the Cardinals could entice him. I don't know. But would that do it for you? Would that re-engage your passion, your interest, and your willingness to spend your hard-earned money on some Cardinals baseball? Listen, I don't have any answers here. I'm just putting all this stuff out here and asking questions to see how you feel. And as I ask the questions, I'm telling you how I feel. And if I disagree with what you think, it is okay. It's totally fine. By now, we know that the reset isn't a reset. It might be more of a reset if they can pull off the trade to get Nolan Arenado to Boston or one of the other 4 teams he's approved of. But as I said here Tuesday, as of now, and that's the key 3 words, as of now, 2025 isn't a resetting. It's a reheating of what they already have in place. And again, that's subject to change, of course. I'm keeping an open mind just in case the front office suddenly pivots in a way that I would consider to be truly a reset. It's not anything close to that now. Like I mentioned yesterday, as of now, their position players, like 82.5% of the plate appearances from last year would be taken by the group that's still here. And with the starting rotation, you can do the math on your own there. As it is right now, there really wouldn't be any changes in the composition of the rotation. So how is that a reset? You're reheating what you already have. Now, here's a question that I think is a meatier question. More serious question, more weighty questions. What if this reheat or reset season fails miserably? What if it's just, wow, the young hitters, they got worse. They got even worse. Does this prompt the Cardinals to start to think about moving some of them when there is trade value? And these would be Chaim Bloom's decision. What if the younger pitchers don't get a chance, or when they do, they don't pitch well, or they break down physically? What if the Cardinals have something closer to the 71 and 91 season from 2023, which was their worst since 1990? At that point, here comes the R word. No, it's not reset and it's not reheat. Here comes the R word. Would it be time for a rebuild? I mean, a full rebuild. The Cardinals have been delaying this thinking the fans wouldn't tolerate it. And they were probably right. But I think we're moving into a new realm here. Even fans, reasonable fans, aren't real tolerant these days anyway. I mean, everyone's kind of had enough of the Mosaic show. Everyone's kind of had enough of, sort of the same baseball, right? And just sort of, as I like to call it, a team that is stuck in the Mosaic. Excuse me, I'm messing up my own lines. They are sort of stuck in the mediocre Mosaic middle, right? So what is the good of that if the fans are staying away and you've lost 450,000 tickets sold compared to 2 years ago, but you're going to stay in that mediocre middle for a while? I don't know how long it'll take Chaim Bloom to get things where, you see some really good young players come up here. They need more elite position players anyway. They need a couple more elite pitching prospects anyway. It's not like, in fact, ESPN.com, Kylie McDaniel, he rated the Cardinals farm system as at number 19. And I think the only team in the Central that was rated slightly behind the Cardinals were the Pirates. It's not like the Cardinals have a top 5 farm system. With Chaim Bloom, I think they'll get there. But my point is, they don't have this influx of sure thing prospects that are ready to take over. Just look at the state that they're in now. We thought a lot of these guys they have on the team now were going to lead the next generation, and they have stalled. I think they can, get started and get reignited. But the Cardinals farm system's in better shape as far as the talent level. But with Rob Cerfolio and everyone else down there with some fresh ideas and making the Cardinals modern, it'll pay off, but it's not going to pay off right away. And I think you already know that. And so my point is, I think we're all tired of mediocrity. I think I've said a million times, pick a lane. Pick a lane. Are you resetting or are you contending? It's kind of hard to pull off both things at the same time, because if you think your team is good, you think your team is kind of a sneaky contender, then why haven't you put anything into the team at the major league level for 2025? You know what I'm saying? We're just so tired and burned out of this stuff. Chaim Bloom, so if they have a free fall in 2025, Chaim Bloom will be ready to go. His upgraded minor league and player development systems will be in place. They'll be modern. They'll be up to date. They'll be up to speed. The Cardinals have more instructors, more teachers, better facilities, and that will eventually pay off. But again, it's not like there's going to be instantaneous positive results. It's going to take a while. It's like planting a garden, right? The flowers don't come up right away. Maybe some do, but you know what I'm saying. Work with me here. Bloom is known and respected within the game for his work in drafting and development, and also identifying value for the dollars when they do go out and sign or they trade for someone. He's got a good eye for young talent and a good eye for value. He makes mistakes because you know what? We all do. Bloom would be the right guy to lead a total rebuild, in my opinion. Do you have a stomach for that? Do you think it's necessary to rebuild if this year goes poorly? If you don't think rebuilding is a desirable option, okay. But let me tell you again about another option that will not be on the table: a substantial increase in spending. Don't get mad at me because I'm just an observer here, but I know how these people are. And the reason I say, well, there's not going to be a substantial increase in spending is because the Cardinals have never really done that under Bill DeWitt. Gosh, even when they acquired Arenado, they got him at a bargain rate because of all the money Colorado put into the deal. So I'm just saying, unless Bill DeWitt changes completely, it's just not going to happen. I don't think they're going to spend in some desperate lunge to win fan approval, because it probably wouldn't work anyway. Without any serious roster upgrades, in other words, if the Cardinals stay the course and beyond 2025, no matter what happens, then we can expect, again, I mentioned earlier, 2 or 3 seasons of mediocrity. I hope it wouldn't be longer than that. And the Cardinals already have been mediocre for a while, except for, 2019, 2022 were really good as far as like regular season play, and also a good team, fun team to watch. 2021 to an extent, the second half of the season when the offense went nuts. But they've been mediocre and kind of dull for a while now. And so if you don't believe a rebuild is necessary, then I'm not sure how they get to where they want to go. And I'm not a big fan of tearing down everything. But again, I'm tired of just them being stationed right in the middle. They have not chosen a direction. So maybe it will be time to think about that if they flop again in 2025, especially if some of the young players just don't get it done. Um, I'm not sure why anyone would want them to continue down this course, staying in the middle, hoping to get lucky. But then again, who am I? I'm just an old goat with a lot of different hats and a YouTube channel. All right. I appreciate you listening to me. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll be back soon here on The Bernie Show. Have a good day. Thank you.